In 1927, a young psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik was sitting in a busy Vienna café when she noticed something about the waiters. They could hold a tangle of orders in their heads perfectly, who asked for what, across a whole table, right up until the bill was paid. The second it was settled, the order was gone. Ask them a minute later, and they couldn't tell you a thing. The unfinished task stayed razor sharp. The finished one evaporated. She took it into the lab, handed people small puzzles, and interrupted half of them partway through. Afterwards, the interrupted tasks were remembered about twice as well as the ones people got to finish. The mind grips what's open and quietly drops what's closed. It's been called the Zeigarnik effect ever since. For most of us, that's just a background hum. A few open loops, mostly small, and they fade on their own. But the mechanism has no ceiling. Turn it up far enough, and it stops being a quirk of memory and becomes the thing an entire life organizes itself around. And we recognize it the instant we see it, because we've been writing the same character for 200 years, and we still can't look away from them. We tend to call him obsessed, and assume the problem is how badly he wants the thing. The closer you look, the stranger it gets. The thing was never really the point. Start with the most famous one. A whaling captain loses a leg to a white whale, and he never really comes back from it. A reasonable man files that under tragedy and sails home. This one files it under debt, something the world owes him now, and he'll collect it, even if it drowns the ship. Melville gives the condition a name the book won't let you forget: monomania. A single idea swollen until there's no room left for any other. And the unbearable part is that Ahab knows. All my means are sane, he says, my motive and my object mad. From the inside, the loop doesn't feel like madness. It feels like clarity. It feels like the one thing that matters in a life full of noise. He turns his ship, his crew, and every year he has left into a single instrument, pointed at one spot on the horizon. In 1979, a psychologist named Dorothy Tenov gave the everyday version of this a name: limerence, the involuntary state where one object takes over your attention completely. Intrusive thoughts you never asked for, in the worst cases, filling almost every waking hour. The whole day quietly bending around one fixed point. Tenov was studying people in love, but the wiring is the same. The object stops being one thing among many. It becomes the lens everything else gets seen through. The whale isn't the disease. The whale is just where the loop happened to land. The captain at least picked a target that fought back. The next man built his life around someone who only wanted to be left alone. In Hugo's novel, Les Miserables, a police inspector named Javert spends decades chasing one man, Jean Valjean, for stealing a loaf of bread and breaking parole. Decades. For bread. It looks insane until you see what it actually is. Javert's whole self is a ledger, and every account has to balance. Every crime answered, every soul filed as lawful or not. Valjean is the one entry that won't resolve, the unpaid order the waiter can't stop seeing. There's a name for this part too. The psychologist Ari Kruglansky called it the need for cognitive closure, the way some minds can't sit with an open question and will grab almost any answer just to make the discomfort stop. Then comes the thing that breaks him. Given the chance to kill Javert, Valjean lets him go, and the loop finally closes, in the one way Javert's mind can't file. A criminal has shown mercy. The ledger won't balance, and now it never will. A man who couldn't stand a single open question gets handed one that can't be closed. He walks to the edge of the river in the dark. There's nowhere left for a mind like that to stand. Ahab's whale and Javert's fugitive were at least out in the world somewhere. The last one carried the whole thing in his pocket. A creature finds a ring and keeps it for 500 years. Here's the part that's easy to miss. It gives him nothing. No joy, no peace, no power he ever actually uses. It hollows him into a husk, muttering to itself in the dark, and he still calls it precious, and he still can't put it down. Neuroscience has a sharper account of this than any story does. Kent Berridge and Terry Robinson spent years showing that wanting and liking run on two different systems in the brain. Wanting is driven by dopamine and can switch on all by itself. Liking is a smaller, separate thing, and the wanting can completely outlive it. They called it incentive sensitization. You go on craving something with everything you have, long after it stopped giving you anything back. That's Gollum, exactly. He doesn't enjoy the ring. He needs it, which is a far darker thing. And Tolkien draws the cost more plainly than a textbook ever could. One creature split into two voices, Smeagol and Gollum, arguing across a cave in the middle of the night. A single mind at war with its own grip. The harder question is what these three actually share, because on the surface, it's nothing. A whale, a fugitive, a ring. Set them side by side, and the only thing that lines up is the shape of what's wrong with each man. Give Ahab a different enemy, and he'd chase that one instead. Give Javert another fugitive, Gollum another trinket, and nothing important changes. The object is interchangeable. The loop is not. What's running all three of them isn't love, or greed, or even hate. It's a mind that has wrapped itself around something it can't resolve, and would rather burn down everything it has than leave the question open. So do they not let go because they can't, or because they won't? That's the line the research can't cross. Tenov, Zeigarnik, Berridge, they can map the mechanism in beautiful detail. They can show you the loop tightening, name the systems involved, predict almost exactly how it ends. What they can't reach is the inside of it. Whether somewhere underneath, a man holds on not because he's trapped, but because a life aimed at one target is simpler to carry than a life full of open questions. We don't know. We may never know. The people who study this most carefully leave the question open, which might be the real reason we keep writing him. We don't come back to Ahab and Javert and Gollum because they're strange. We come back because they're familiar. The same mechanism is running in all of us right now, quieter, turns down low. That thing in your head that still won't close. Most of us just learned how to walk away from the door. They stood in front of it until it took everything. The loop never asks to be closed. It only waits to see who can't. Hey, if you thought this video was cool, subscribe and share with a friend so you don't miss the next one. And if you love high-octane action stories, check out my latest novel through the link in the description or in the pinned comments.